Hi there folks, welcome back to the workshop. The Bristol Hercules reduction unit. Those who've been following it, this is part 3, links to part 1 and 2 in the description below. It came to me basically for the cover to be made lightweight. The gears that have been removed were in better condition than what anybody thought. So let's have a quick recap. So here we have a reduction gear cover from a Bristol Hercules engine that was fitted to Halifax MZ763, which was sadly shot down over the Netherlands in 1944. And this is the reduction gear, which I've just extracted. Quite a work of art, really. So, old trusty. Now, if you do work for GT85 and you want me to advertise your product, get in touch. It works. So far, as you can see, quite a lot has freed off and is looking good. The process continued, and here's a few clips from during the week. Right, another little job, another bit of a strip down really. The bearing is in this steel housing, which is actually sat on the piss. I can only assume this was from the impact and also what put the bearing out of shape. So what I want to do next is, with the aid of the press, is to see if it'll push out. Now it shouldn't be that tight a fit, but it has sat there for a long time. As you can see, I've got some support all the way around where it can, and just enough clearance for it to move. So I shall gently give that a go, folks. I think what I will do. Now, come on, Mr. GT85, do you want to put your name to be seen with some interesting things? Please get in touch. I might use you in some videos. Well, what am I saying? I'm using you in some videos, just that I'm paying for this. Anyway, let's gently give this a try. Managed to find a piece of metal there that just spans over the edge of the housing there. Now the lock ring for the bearing was also pushed out, and that might push back first. I don't think it'll undo somehow. There she flies. That's the bearing housing out. Right, let's get it off the press and take a closer look. Well, there we have the casing, the bearing housing removed. That should clean up really well. And then, as much as it pains me to get rid of the original black paint, I think we do need to paint it black for Andy. And there's the bearing in its housing. It's not perfect, because this lock ring was also shoved out like the bearing, and if you take a look, you can see how it's stuck out there. You can see the threads, whereas that side there's none. And obviously the gap between the bearing and the lock ring there, and the lock tabs. So, a lot of cleaning up to do. And I also need to make a way of making that snout protrude out of that cover, with that cover on the front. and without all that inside. And then Andy has the his lightweight cover with something to mount his propeller on, and the museum has quite a unique display to be constructed. So folks, that'll be no doubt something to see next year when the museum reopens. Currently closed at the moment. There's some window frames being fitted. I'll do an update on the museum soon. Little update folks, managed to get the bearing housing out of the cover there, so that can be now cleaned up. And I gave the fixed gear its first clean up, and I just sat it over the top. As you can see, it works. Didn't even notice, but these are going faster than that. That's why it's called a reduction gear. Yeah, I'm quite pleased with that. It's quite amazing this is coming apart like it is. Things are just, I don't know, coming back to life. So, as the cleanup continues, I decided to have a look at these little plungers. Now these basically allowed oil to pass from here and to these, and they would sit in there like so. Well, I'll let them have a soak. One came apart quite easy. This one had a little bit more corrosion, so I'm just going to see if I can get it to move a bit. I'll try and set the camera up so you can watch. Well, you can see that, folks. Tight again. Starting to move. So that should. There we go. There you go, folks. The only people who've ever seen inside this like this is whoever put it together, and me, and you. Now the other one was a lot cleaner. However, I'm sure this will clean up nicely. So I'll go give it a clean. Well, we now have two plungers. Not much to them really. Basically a spring and two ends. So with those back in service, let's even clean the shaft up there where the bush sits, and maybe we could put it all back in place just to see how it looks. With the fixed gear cleaned up, I had a bit of a clean up with the cover bearing, the main bearing there, and slid it back on the shaft. Then at least that way I could put it the right way up. When I mean the right way up, meaning the fixed gear is on the deck and that doesn't turn, as you can see. So now the engine actually turned this gear, and can you remember the bearing that we didn't think would unseize? Well, it has. So that's all the bearings unseized and everything back in place. And what I shall do is give a little demonstration of how it works. Right, a quick demonstration of the reduction gear. Now obviously at this point the propeller fits down here, so it's pointing at the floor. This is the engine side, and the engine rotates this gear, and I put a piece of tape on there, and I put a piece of tape on here, because this part is separate to this part. It's actually part of this part. Right, so as the engine starts to rotate, you'll notice the difference in speed. So that's one engine revolution. As you can see, we can't actually see the other piece of tape. That's round here at about, I don't know, 0.444 of the way round. So we'll continue. That's another rotation of the engine. As you can see, that's lagging behind now. The ratio is 0.444 to 1. So that's one engine revolution to just under half a revolution of the propeller, as you can see. You know, this rotates lovely now. Will it ever line up again? Nearly. So yeah, that's basically how the reduction gear works. Over 1600 horsepower coming through here to make the propeller rotate there at a slower speed. Amazing engineering, and brought back to life. I doubt anybody thought this would ever rotate again. Quite blown away by that, folks, I really am. So quite a productive week. Let's take a look where we're up to now. So here it is. I've actually made a start of just cleaning some of the rust off here. Hopefully it'll clean up quite nice. You can see there. It's looking a bit grubby because it's all covered in penetrating oil. Trying to get everything as free as I can, and then we'll get it as clean as we can. And that bearing, folks, nobody thought that'd free off. Alright, it's a little bit ropey, but it works. And when everything's supported as it should, that bearing does rotate as it should. At the moment it's kind of free floating. So how am I going to mount this thing? Obviously I can't put the workmate in the museum, so I'm thinking of using the cover bearing, the shaft bearing there. That's the housing, came out of the cover, that's under there. I can put a bracket off there to support the front. The problem we have is this shaft being, as you can see, a little bit on the piss. But it does look that from there downwards, that piece is actually quite straight. So I may do what I hate doing, is actually trim this off and make a new end that'll insert. And then that can also have a bearing on it. That way this thing should rotate even more freely than it does now. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. Really never thought this to come back to life. And it's a great way to show people how it works. Yeah, quite blown away, folks. Can't help but fiddle with it in the workshop. So as you can see, things are progressing well. It's probably going to be a little while before I do actually get the bracketry support made for it. There's a few other things that I need to get done first, including the merlin and protecting that. So there may be a gap between part 3 and part 4. However, if anything happens, I will let you know. So thanks for watching, liking, subscribing, and all that jazz. Catch you on the next one.